All right, everybody, welcome to the Typical Sportsman podcast. I am joined by one of the most typical sportsmen there is, Mr. Trent Murphy.
How are we doing?
Trent holds the standard, in my opinion, for most typical sportsman thing you can do, and that is dragging a dead buck onto the field of the Buffalo Bills. You'll hear the whole story in the episode, but we just talked through Trent's season. He has killed like 72 animals in the last couple months, all legal, but he's just had an absolute stellar year. Elk, caribou, grizzlies, black bear, mule deer, everything you can think of. Bison, been a great year for Trent. We just kind of talk about what's next, talk about balancing life in the NFL with playing sports. It's a fun episode. I hope you'll stay tuned right here. As always, this episode is brought to you by my good friends over at 2O. Guys, if you haven't checked out 2O, it is by far, well, yeah, I can say this. It's by far my favorite gear I have ever hunted in out west. When I was in Idaho a couple weeks ago, I pushed it to the very limits in every way imaginable. Rain for 2 straight days, freezing cold, super hot, many miles. Like in that 1 week, we saw every season, and we pushed our gear hard. And it performed in every way I could have ever asked it to. The pattern's also super sexy, and it's affordable. So guys, go check out 2O Gear. That's TUO gear.com. Guys, stay tuned right here. I hope you enjoy.
For the true sportsman, it's more than a pastime. It's a way of life. Embrace the lifestyle of hunting, fishing, and the thrill of the wild. Live the life. Be typical.
All right. So when it comes to typical sportsmen, it doesn't get more typical than dragging a dead deer into the stadium of the Buffalo Bills. Now, precursor, he did play for the Bills at the time. It'd be even worse if you didn't.
Helped my case a little bit.
Helped your case a touch. I don't think you would have made it to the field had you not.
You'd be surprised, but that would definitely be getting escorted out a little differently than I did.
Have you seen that dude on social media? What his deal is, he goes to games all across the country. Mm. And his goal is to see how long he can stay in the stadium post game. And I think it was the Nebraska stadium. Ends up like 2.5 hours after the game, and he's like in the owner's box and
that's incredible.
Makes it to the he's outside the locker room. Here's the players in there, and he's like, these security guards suck.
It's some security is definitely better than others for sure. But yeah, it was a cool experience. I shot probably one of my best bucks in Buffalo. We had just clinched the division. I'm like, light bulb moment. I'm taking this deer into the stadium. Like, city loves us. We're winning.
We can do no wrong.
Yeah, we can do no wrong right now. So I drag my wife in there, bring the dead deer in. And it's during COVID too, so there's like a lot of funky rules. And I was like, I'm just gonna do it. Like, this not a big deal. Do it. Get a picture. Blows up on social media. Everybody loves it. Luckily it's Buffalo, so they love it. Like, big time hunting community. They loved it. Everyone thought it was like Photoshop or something, but everyone was just, it was positive all around. Like, everyone's biggest question was like, how did you do that? Like, why did you, how?
My truck.
Yeah, I was like, my truck. I put it in the back of the truck. I drove down the ramp, took a picture. It was already like gutted, and so the turf pellets filled up the inside of the deer. Nice. Luckily, I already pulled out the inner loin, so no meat was wasted. But that was my claim to fame for a little bit.
That's awesome. Sure. I posted it on social media one time as part of a reel for another episode we did, and I remember 2 or 3 people commenting, and they're like, that's in every bar in Buffalo. It hangs in every bar.
It is in a few bars for sure. A couple people, they sent it out, and I signed it, sent it back, and they love it. That's my next biggest goal is to try to get another deer. I drew the once in a lifetime bison tag in Wyoming, which I was fortunate enough to fill. If it wasn't so far, I was like, how cool would that be to get this bison back in the stadium? But I was like, I don't know if that.
How much harder would it be now, though?
Oh, it would. It depends I think it depends what kind of week they're having. If they're flying high, I think I could probably ask the right people to get in there. Not with a bison, but with a New York deer, I think it might be doable. We left on pretty good terms, so I didn't get kicked out or cut or anything. So I think that's usually the sign you're welcome back.
So that is quite literally, if I had to say one picture that embodies what it means to be a typical sportsman, it's that right there. The type of picture that people look at and they're just like, that's a typical redneck hunter right there. That's it.
For sure. For sure.
And now I so graciously have a signed copy hanging in my podcast studio that will forever be the standard for what a typical sportsman is.
It's an honor to be here. It's an absolute honor to be here. I wear that with a badge of honor for sure.
Yeah, I'm stoked to have you here, man. I was sitting in my tree stand this morning and we were texting back and forth about a recurve and I'm like, well, you ever coming through Kansas? And you're like, I'm in Denver right now. Like I can be there tonight. Like, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah, that's it. All my friends they're like, what state is he in now? And all my nephews and nieces, they just follow Uncle Trenton's dot on the map to see where the heck I am. And I don't know, I enjoy driving. I got my pups with me and drew a bunch of tags. So for me, it's like, you've been awesome to me. This bow is like a freaking dream bow to have. And I was like, dude, 7-8 hours, that's nothing. I'm there.
That's cool, man. Yeah, we had Chef Footy Mike C hook us up with some food tonight. He brought some elk back straps and he threw down some chili Colorado is what he called it. And it was delicious as always, with some homemade tortillas and just absolutely phenomenal. So definitely fun. Can't wait for in the morning when the sun comes up, shoot some bows, hang out, and going to be a good time. But following your social media, it's like, holy crap, has this guy been home in 7 months? Like, it seems like he's killing everything in sight.
God bless my wife. I haven't even posted all of it just because
for her sake.
Yeah, for everyone's sake. I think you get to a point where everyone's like,
it's like, good Lord, the guy no longer plays football. So now he just does everything to do other than kill stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But I've been enjoying myself. I had a crazy year drawing stuff. I think there's not a ton of method to the madness. I just cast this wide net and apply for every animal in every state. And then it's like, you either get nothing back or you get way too much back.
The jackpot.
Yeah, it's been a jackpot year for sure, which is very challenging to plan. I struggle with planning already. So I'm kind of like, if it makes sense, I'm driving. I'm going. Like, I'm just going. And so she's been good with it. She's definitely ready for me to be home. I told her I was coming home on Sunday, and I think it's Thursday. So we're inching our way back.
And she's like, "Now you're in Kansas,"
which is closer than Utah.
I might. What's your wife's name?
Nicole,
listen, if you listen to this, I'm sorry, but I do have a place in Oklahoma that I told him if he just buys it's an over-the-counter tag. Like,
we're adding it.
We could be hunting the rest of the week. I mean, it'd be a good time.
Absolutely.
So where all have you been? What all have you killed this year?
So I guess it depends when you decide this year's started.
This
last year ended.
This last 7 months you've been gone.
Yeah, it started with a spring bear in Ontario. That was my first ever official recurve kill. So
I saw the video. It was dope.
Pumped with that.
Nice bear too.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Nice bear.
It was cool. I worked and shot a lot of times a day to feel comfortable doing that for sure. Shout out to Tom Klum, went to Colorado.
The real MVP.
He got me right.
Tom, listen, if you're listening, I cannot rave enough about Tom, not only as an instructor, but just as a person, dude.
He's the best.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
So we did a giveaway for this guy to go on an elk hunt with me. That elk hunt I was just telling you about. We did a giveaway, all expense paid. You just get there. I'm buying your tags. I'm paying the outfitter. I'm even going to get you a bow, whatever bow you choose from Bear. Well, the winner chose a recurve. And So we were hunting and no, I'm sorry. It's the day before he's supposed to leave. 2 days before I'm supposed to leave for this hunt. And it's late at night and he calls me and says, hey, my bow just blew up. Like I don't have a bow for this hunt. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like what are we going to do? It's on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
And so I called Tom and I'm like, hey, he's coming through Denver tomorrow. I know it's a Sunday. You're closed. And he's like, oh, I'm up on the mountain elk hunting. I'll take the afternoon off. I can come off the mountain and meet him. We got to get this guy a bow. And I'm like, Tom, no, I don't want you to have to do that. He's like, we got to get this guy a bow. And so Tom comes off the mountain on his day off. The shop's closed, meets this guy that he has no connection with, like he owes this guy nothing. Yeah. He owes me nothing. And ends up lending the guy his personal bow so he can go on this hunt. And I'm just like, dude, the realest guy in the industry.
Yeah, he's just bringing like passion and talk about a guy that does some like probably more for the archery industry than anyone I've met in person. I mean, he's incredible. Just so much excitement, so much passion, like helped me change my anchor and all kinds of stuff to get me shooting straight. And it was real refreshing. I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, not all coaches are created equal, and he is up there with the best of them. I mean, football, NFL, all the different levels, like he's up there.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm excited to shoot with you tomorrow because Tom tells me you're great.
We'll see. I've been a little rusty now after getting through everything. I've never shot this bow, but I'll certainly do my best. So,
it'll be fun either way. It's always fun slinging them.
Yeah, so did that. Then I went to Montana with my compound. I shot another black bear. That was super cool. I to be honest, I didn't want to shoot this bear. I was waiting for a big boar. And she just made me so uncomfortable. She just wouldn't leave. And she was walking down a path, like kind of kept wind checking and circling and was kind of eating these berries across this little creek. And I was in a good wind spot, and she just kind of, I don't know if she sensed something was wrong or what. And I was just standing there against a tree. And then the last time she wind checked, she picked a different path and didn't cross the creek. She was, like basically brush my leg. And so I just moved my arm to let her know I was there. And then she kind of jumped back and ran like 10 yards backwards and then turned around and got all hunched over, like she was ready to spring either away or towards me, and started walking at me again. And I was like, I'm drawing, and if you don't leave, like this is it. And she didn't leave. So I ended up shooting that sow. She was an older sow, but there was a big boar in the area that I kind of had my eye on. But
that's what I say too. Every time I see a white-tailed doe, I'm like, gosh, she was threatening me, dude.
Yeah,
like,
she's real threatening.
I felt threatened, so I shot her.
Exactly. Exactly. And then I had like a dream hunt I wanted to do in Alaska. Like grizzly bear was up there for me. So originally went in the spring, 115 days, like camping on top of 6 feet of snow. It was super cool for a boy from the desert. It was a whole new experience. We didn't see a bear. Got invited back in the fall, kind of between his clients. Went with Justin Dubé. He was awesome, just the best dude ever. I probably camped with him more this year than I stayed with my wife. So we spent some time together.
Know him pretty well.
Yeah, pretty well. Went back. He was awesome. Shot a grizzly bear and shot
was it everything that you thought it would be?
The springtime hunt, yes and no. It was as remote and wild as I thought I'd be, but I thought there would be wildlife everywhere. And it just wasn't alive yet. It was just barren. I mean, you could see forever, and we're glassing 15 hours a day till like we're crying, and we haven't seen an animal, like seeing sheep, but that was it. And I was like, oh, sheep are supposed to be the hardest thing to find. That's all we're seeing. And then the fall,
sheep hunting.
Yeah, exactly. And then the fall was everything I thought it'd be. I mean, seeing 5 grizzly bear a day, caribou everywhere, like just wildlife, blueberries.
I don't think I've seen a picture of you with the caribou yet.
It's on my phone.
Did you get it into the stadium?
I didn't get it into the stadium. No.
You could have went to to an Alaskan college and drug it in there.
Yeah, I should have. That would have been the deal. So
Well, the reason I ask is because, and not grizzly, but coastal brown bear is like, if you were to ask me, like, I'm going to send you on a hunt tomorrow, money's no object, like you can go anywhere, I'm going to pick a coastal brown bear
for sure.
And I don't know why. I mean, like, but that's just like I would love that.
Yeah, and I will say I think I could misspeak, but from what I understood, there's 3 guides that are allotted to guide on Unimac Island, and Justin with Kokanee Outfitters is one of them, and those are some big old bears. And as far as like opportunity to bow hunt a grizzly bear, I mean that's up there, just because there's like whale carcasses and stuff where you can brush out a ground blind and actually have the opportunity to stock up on one. Where we were is like where the barren ground caribou are, and you're glassing them 3 miles away, and you could try to put a stock on them with a bow, but it's just very open
Impossible,
terrain.
yeah.
So definitely would put into Unimac Island and give that a go. It's a hard draw, but you'll draw it eventually.
Yeah, one of my friends, Jim Willems, past president of Pope and Young, he shot a bear on a whale carcass, giant bear. Would have ended up being, I don't know that they said new world record, but definitely top 5 all time. Ends up shooting this bear, and the bear turns back, or like comes up the beach shore and starts charging them. So the outfitter shot it with a rifle. But being that he shot it with a rifle, he no longer was qualified for Pope and Young, so it didn't make. And at that point, he was still the president, and I'm like, dude, you can't pull no strings. Like, he's like, well, that's
I think
the very thing we stand against,
but sure. Justin had a guy he told me about, wanted to shoot a bear with a recurve, and he told him, he's like, listen, like before they started the stock, he's like, listen, unless this bear is killing me, do not shoot it. Like, don't shoot it. Like, I need to shoot it with a bow, because he was trying to fulfill something that
yeah.
I think you said the guy killed it.
That's crazy, dude. But then I've heard stories on the flip side. One of my buddies shot a polar bear and with his recurve, and
that would take some.
This bear turns and charges him, and he doesn't ever hear a gunshot or anything. And I don't remember the whole story. I could go back and listen, but anyways, he like looks at the guide. He's like, "Why didn't you shoot?" And he's like, "I was a mock charge, dude." Like, he's like, "You didn't know that?"
I know it now.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, "Well, I guess you were right. I mean, in the end, but what happens if you weren't right?"
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. I don't know if you want me to still keep going down the list.
Well, yeah. So hold on. Let's stay in Alaska for a second. So if you could do it over again, would you go caribou or would you go grizzly again? Like, did grizzly live up to it enough to where, hey, that's what I would do again, given the opportunity?
I would do grizzly again. That was for me, like, why I was going to Alaska. I had a moose tag too.
Good Lord. What'd you have? 74 tags this year?
Could I do it again? I'd probably just get a moose tag, because I didn't realize that you could fill
either.
Yeah. Any animal that is cheaper than that tag under it. So I probably would have just got one, like the most expensive tag, and then, opportunity is there and you don't see a moose or something, you could shoot the caribou, and tag it with the moose tag. But everyone in Alaska is like, moose meat, moose meat, moose meat. It's way better than caribou. So I really was excited to try moose meat. That being said, I shot an incredible caribou, so I was pretty jacked, and it was on the last day of the hunt. So.
I had some moose bacon. It was really good.
See,
it's really good. Made me want to be a moose hunter.
But the grizzly bear, I mean, it's just, they're such a cool animal. There's blueberries everywhere. You get a really, I mean, you can see, actually, like, watch grizzly bear and black bear on the same slope, and so, like, seeing them in that, you just see how different of a species they really
for
are.
Sure.
So it was.
I remember because we were just talking about my Idaho trip. One of my buddy asked me, he's like, what if I accidentally shoot a grizzly? I'm like, I don't think you'll act like, once you see them, like, there's really no mistaking it, bro.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. And it's just funny. The first time I took the, like, Montana bear ID test, like, some of those are a little challenging the way they present those pictures, but
I missed one. I remember I missed one.
I think I did too. Having seen him now in person, it's like it's night and day. You would never confuse them.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way they like the grizzly bear lumber when they walk, and like the black bear almost like dainty, kind of flicking their. It's just they're so different.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So what was after Alaska? You haven't been home in like 2 months now at this point. We're 2 months deep.
Yeah, archery elk in Utah. Finally shot a bull elk with my bow in Utah. So that was awesome. It was a good bull. They're kind of blurred together now. After that,
well, now you just sound cocky.
Yeah, sorry.
That's a good problem to have.
I'm just delirious more than anything.
Oh, sorry. I can't even remember what all I've killed this year.
I just did this too. Well, we'll start with more recently. I helped a buddy on a disabled vet hunt in Arizona in the Kaibab. That was super cool experience. Just, I mean, right around close to Veterans Day. And
was that the Velvet?
And that was, no, it wasn't the Velvet.
Okay.
It was,
I do want to talk about that here in a minute.
Yeah. No, he shot an awesome deer, and it was cool too, because there's a mandatory check in the Kaibab, and I'm from Arizona, so I've obviously always heard about how good the deer are up there, but it takes like 20 plus points to draw, so it's well out of my reach. But so to be able to go through there, I was like, yeah, I'll love to help you. I haven't hunted there, but I'm sure we can figure it out. We kind of ended up driving past like a big name outfitter in Arizona, and I recognized him. So I'm like, if he's here, we're in the right spot. Like, I don't know how we picked the right spot, but we're in the right spot. And so we're seeing,
who is the outfitter?
Chino Outfitters.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
All right, Big Chino.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't recognize us, but I was like, I recognize you, so we're in the right spot, and we're gonna stay right here.
Yeah, they're a good supporter of Pope and Young. Phenomenal outfitter.
Yeah.
Great people too.
They kill some hammers.
Giants.
Kill some hammers for sure.
Studs.
Yeah, so we're hunting our butt off, got the canvas tent, wood stove, get hit with a snowstorm in Arizona, which is always awesome, and which really helped because that got the deer moving. They were already kind of dropping off the mountain into this like gamble oak tree area on the, I don't know, more sunny slopes, and they'd pile down into the bottom of these ravines and like all these really nice roads. I mean, unbelievable how nice the roads are in that unit, but everyone's ripping around side by side, so we just drop down into these bottoms during the day where they were bed down and try to get into some action, and almost had probably 3 opportunities on nice bucks, what I'd consider nice bucks in the unit. And then the last day, worst part of the snowstorm, this buck comes chasing doe out of the bottom and he hammers it. We take it to the check, and the guy was like, this is probably one of like top 15% comes out of the unit. Like, this hunt's not designed for this deer. This hunt's designed to cull young deer. And we're like, that sucks. What? We didn't know that. But he's like, yeah, later season
worked in our favor.
Yeah, no kidding. But it was just good weather, right place, right time. He was, I mean, so stoked. Well earned buck for his service and everything. So that was awesome. I drew like I said, the bison tag in Wyoming. Went out for a scouting trip, not expecting to see the bison in the correct location, and just happened to bump into a lone bull by himself in a huntable spot.
You just sound lucky.
I am just lucky. That's really all there is to it.
Was bison bow or rifle?
It was either. I was planning on doing it bow once the bison moved down into the elk refuge. It was the first night, and all I had was my rifle with me just for bear and everything, and was helping a neighbor look for elk, and he was there. So shot with my rifle. I was like, this has gone down below 30% success rate for this tag. Like, I'm not going to pass up on this bison in here.
Was it a pretty good bull?
Yeah, it was a great old bull. It was awesome.
That's cool.
And that was a humbling animal to field dress on the ground.
I bet. You ain't throwing that over your shoulder.
No, I couldn't even pick his head up for a picture.
Even Cameron Haynes couldn't do that.
Oh, he's been hammering his balls off too.
All right, so this buck, because you said hammering his balls off, it made me remind me of that buck. Okay, so we've all heard, well, maybe you haven't all heard, but there are times where even late into the, like I've seen one buck that I could think of in January that still had velvet. And turned out it was an antlered doe.
Yeah.
And that's why it never shed the velvet. But you helped a buddy shoot a buck. Nice hammer, tank of a buck,
Great.
a dandy. And it still had velvet. Now, you said it had the sack, but no nuts, right?
Yeah. The sack was intact. There was no like damage or trauma. There was just no nuts in it.
Did it have a pecker?
Yeah. Good size one too.
Huh.
And he was perfect velvet. And the odd part of it was he was a typical mule deer, like perfect, 4x4, just symmetrical, beautiful deer. And usually if you see something with no nuts or got ripped off by barbed wire or something, like they're like a stag or all funky looking in velvet. He was perfect, just in velvet in November, no nuts. So he had way more fat than all the other bucks in the area that got harvested. So he definitely had like way different hormones than the other bucks in the area, and didn't look ruddy. Like his neck didn't look ruddy or anything.
So have you heard from anybody like what they think the deal is? I mean,
everyone's just kind of throwing out their theories. I don't know why he didn't have any testicles on him, but he didn't.
Huh.
I mean, I've seen it in dogs before too. So
my theory on the fat, and I could be way off on this. If he doesn't have testicles, and you said he wasn't, wasn't muscled up, rutting, he probably just doesn't burn fat like the other bucks do because he's not running and gunning does. I mean, and and does get skinny because they're running from bucks all year, all fall. So that said deer doesn't chase or be chased. It just gets fat.
The only thing I can relate it to just from like the athlete's background is like, if you look at human blood work, like most time, like if you take an obese person and look at their gut health and blood and testosterone, like they have way too much estrogen, no testosterone. And so I'm thinking like this buck has no nuts. He's got no testosterone. So, I'm comparing it to like human anatomy, which probably doesn't add up at all, but he definitely isn't driven to breed. He's not driven to chase. He's definitely not getting all ruddy. And so however that translates or equates, like
probably means it's going to taste a lot better too.
No doubt. The fat, he had just 4 inches of fat on him everywhere.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was cool to see. He was pumped. It was his lifetime best buck. He's hunted there in that unit, that area his whole life. Hasn't shot a deer like that. So, they were all smiles. His wife, brother, everyone was there. It was cool to be a part of. It was awesome. Like perfect dream sunset. We were standing there.
That's cool, man.
It was awesome.
So being that you have hunted 284 days of this year, what's your favorite species to hunt? Like if you could only hunt one species the rest of your life, what would it be? And I'll even say species. So you can kill subspecies. Like if you go deer, you can go mule deer, whitetail, coos.
I don't know. I think being from out west, I'm probably like driven towards that. I think elk is up there just from like, they're such a big, cool animal. You get so much meat off them. They taste so good. I think prior to actually like harvesting elk and getting like a lot of different elk experiences, nilgai is way up there for me. It's very underrated meat. Not for people that have eaten it. Not a lot of people know about nilgai or have the opportunity to hunt nilgai. It's like a South Texas specific thing, but you can hunt them all year. They're not native, so they're considered an exotic. So when everything else ends and you need something to do in February, especially when the guys that are still playing and stuff, you can go shoot them, and it's incredible meat. But as far as just like a DIY,
but is the hunt fun?
It's a lot of fun because they don't come to feeders. They don't eat corn. They genetically are hunted by tigers, so they're super skittish. If they see you or wind you or anything, they're blowing out of there. Their hide is like 2 inches thick, so they just eat bullets, and like you can drop them in the vitals and they get up and just zombie run away, and you don't almost find them. And they're real tough to archery hunt. It's kind of what I've been trying to do is get one with my bow the last few years.
Have you ever seen one? Have you ever been there when somebody shot one with a bow?
No, I haven't. I mean, a lot of guys have tried, and they're tough to get close to, especially if they're pressured. But I've whiffed on one with my bow, which was a learning experience for me. But
recurve or compound?
It was a compound. It was kind of a new bow to me. I was using, not the QAD riser, and I sat there so long with my bow on my lap in this like chair and this brush blind I built, and this bull like crawled under the barbed wire fence, which was insane to see. When stood.
How much do they weigh?
A big bull, like 950 pounds.
Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah. And he was standing there like a dream shot, quartered away, 40 yards, standing in a water hole. I like pick up my bow, do everything right, focusing on him, pick a spot, check my level, like, oh, this is it. Let the arrow rip, and he's just standing there. Nothing happens. I kind of hear a zip, and I'm like, did it pass through? I don't see it. Like, what happened? And then I realized my arrow wasn't on my riser, so the arrow was off in the corner. And
on your rest, you mean?
Yeah, on my rest. It didn't raise up. It was trapped in the corner, and so I just sent a curveball and like skipped it off the water and cleaned.
What a ding dong!
Yeah, dude. It was. I sat there so long. I was embarrassed to go back because they're like, dude, he's been out there for over 8 hours. Like, he for sure got something.
Oh, dude.
But sucks. That's how you learn, is those mistakes. And luckily it didn't hit him or anything.
Is that the best way to kill him with your bow, is over water?
For sure. Either that, or they kind of like mark their trails with piles of shit, like almost like a ferret. Like they shit in the same spot every time. So there's like months old shit just piled up and new shit.
Just a 44 foot pile.
Just a pyramid of Neil guy shit. And so you can sit on one of those, but they have so many trails. They never stop moving. So that's like not a bad strategy, especially if you have like a pinch point or something. But it's Texas, so water, like warm weather and water, a water hole that has like fresh holes that they push the fence up that they're crawling under is.
Stay tuned, because we might be killing them in 1 month with our bows.
Absolutely. You'll be the first. You're going to be the guy to do it finally. You're going to get. It's
going to be a blast.
But yeah, that's kind of a non-traditional hunt. So I'd probably put mule deer's growing on me a ton. I really enjoy that, especially like stalking a bedded mule deer with a bow is a really cool experience. But all around, like if I could only pick one, I guess I'd pick a bull elk.
All right. Now on the reverse side of that, because I already said what I would do. Not that you can only hunt one animal the rest of your life, but one animal, no questions asked, no money is no issue. Tomorrow you get to go on this hunt. What would you do?
I'd probably either say
like a pig on Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly. This is a strange animal, controversial animal at that, but
oh no,
for whatever reason,
lion.
Nope, I want a polar bear.
That's not controversial.
It's a little controversial.
No, it's not.
All right, well,
only for weenies.
Either that or like you said, a coastal brown bear. I think like a Unimac Island big old bear with my bow over a whale carcass or something. That would be. Dude.
But they taste horrible.
They taste so bad.
They
taste like a whale carcass smells.
Like I've been told you can't even skin them. Like if they've been eating whale carcasses, like it's just disgusting to even skin them.
Yeah, this was a little controversial, and embarrassed to say I haven't actually tried it yet because I just ground it up before I left on the last bout. But I packed out that grizzly bear I shot in Alaska, which is not very common apparently, but it ended up being a sow, like living on blueberries, getting ready for the winter. And I was like, if grizzly bear is ever going to be good, it's going to be this grizzly bear. Meat looked great, smelled great. It was almost like dyed purple from the blueberries. Like her butt was purple, like under the fur. And I'm like, dude, what's wrong with this bear? It's like just blueberries stained the inside of like everywhere. So I'm excited to try that. I don't think Nicole will, but
listen, animals taste like what they eat. Like that's no mystery.
Yeah, I posted that on Instagram just for fun, like, guess what this meat is, like beef, pork, blah, 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 blah. And everyone was like, oh, that's beef for sure. I mean, looks like beautiful red meat. And if most people didn't know, they wouldn't know.
Yeah. And that's what, like, my first bear hunt, I remember people saying, like, oh, it's disgusting. You don't eat bear. And same deal. I skin it and I'm like, this is incredible looking. Well, it was a big old fat fall bear. I mean, sucking down blueberries, just like you said. Like, I mean, gorgeous meat. And it was some of my favorite meat I've ever had. So I can't say that bear meat is my favorite wild game, but that bear is top of the list. Like, because it was just so good. If you kill a nice big old fat fall bear that's eating berries, it's delicious. Now, here's what a lot of people, they go to, you know, these places that are throwing out day old donuts and, you know,
dumpster bears and
bacon grease and, you know, just anything to get these bears to come to a pile. And they say, my bear tasted like crap. I'm like, it's literally eating trash. Like, it's eating leftovers all year. Like, of course it does. Same with pigs, man. People are like, wild pigs taste bad. And I'm like, look what okay, listen, I went to an outfitter one time. I don't know that this is disclaimer. This was not me. I don't even know. This might be super controversial. They would soak the corn in diesel.
Jesus.
So that, like, they didn't have to worry about deer and stuff coming near it, but the pigs would still just eat it. And I'm like, no wonder people say pigs taste bad. Like, look what you're doing.
Yeah, that's bad.
Like, you're giving the pig literal diesel.
Right.
And then you wonder why it tastes bad. Like,
yeah, that one's tough for sure. But I don't know. I'm just a big proponent. Like, if I'm going to kill it and take its life, I'm going to eat it. That's just, I don't know.
For sure. You ever tried coyote hunting?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I have. The coyote's neck was filled with roundworms. It was like, this is, let's not do that.
Disgusting. Dude, I have quickly become semi-addicted to thermal coyote hunting.
Yeah.
You're going to have to come back in, like, January, February, March, sometime in there. Just slay some thermal coyotes. Yeah, so much fun.
I guess I can't make that blanket statement because I will shoot raccoons and coyotes, and I'm not eating.
I've got some backyard raccoons. You can go out there right now. I'm sure.
Show you this picture of the Kansas lease. This freaking raccoon horde living in there.
I've got resident. Good Lord. Just 37. That one coon weighed 43 pounds.
It's a baby bear.
That one coon's bigger than a Labrador. Yeah, I've got a resident on my back deck, and I think he weighs, I joke, and says he weighs a minimum of 40, but I mean, he's a big old coon.
Yeah, they're mean.
Here's the problem, though. You slide the back deck open, I can get a shot at him, but he's still on the deck. So I'm going to put a hole in the deck. So I got to wait for him to run off the deck into the dark, and then I can't ever see him again once he gets off the deck. So I've launched a couple arrows in the dark just hoping I hit him, but I never have.
Yeah, we had a chicken coop for a while. It's like always guinea fowl and chickens in it, but they're getting just ripped apart by raccoons and possums and everything else at night. And so I put a ring. It was close enough to the house that the Wi-Fi works. I put a ring camera right on the floor in there, and would get that notification when there was a raccoon or possum, and just say they got the business.
Nice. So I want to talk to you about your time playing football. And then I want to go back a little bit more past that. How do you manage hunting? I mean, a fall sport like football, especially played at a level in the NFL. Did you ever get to hunt? Like,
the kind of biggest year for me that I got to hunt, we did have an awesome crew in Washington before they got canceled and had to change their name. And we would go after the season every year.
Thanks, cancel culture.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you guys. HTTR. And so we'd go to Texas after the season, which was awesome. My last year in Washington, I blew out my left knee in the preseason, got paid like $60 to blow out my entire knee. It was awesome.
That's good.
and put on IR, like season-ending injury from the get-go. It's my last year with the team, so it's kind of a weird deal anyway. Of like, well, you're not going to be here next year.
Well, we don't care about you as a person,
exactly. So just and so did the Bows Pros deal, got a bow, like just totally DIY, throw myself into the fire, not doing anything right. And that's the year I really dove into it. And I think we talked about this on the last podcast, but it was also, long story short, met with the coach. He said my health sucked, needed to eat better and change everything about my life. And I was like, what's better than wild game? And so it was kind of like, A, I have all this time to fill. B, I love the challenge. C, it's going to be healthier for me if I'm successful anyway. So there were all those driving factors. Then fast forward to Buffalo, leasing on this family's 100-acre pig farm with alfalfa fields and all this timber and, deer in the back of the property, 15 minutes from the facility. So that was actually a situation where on the off day, I could jump into a tree and deer hunt in season and decompress and have a little bit of me time. And so that was a huge blessing. And also part of the reason I didn't want to play after Buffalo, because nothing's going to top this. This is perfect. It was probably too good, but so definitely not anywhere compared to what I'm doing now. Like, you don't have a fall. The team kind of owns you. Like, once you report for training camp in July, like you're theirs till February. So definitely sparse and few and far in between hunts, like really just what you can pull off in your backyard or neighbors near the facility. There are a couple stories of guys like Patriots or whatever that would bring their bow and hunt behind the practice field before.
Didn't one of them get like a massive fine or something?
Yeah, he did.
I think I heard about that.
Yeah, I think it was for bringing a weapon to the facility. Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. So
I almost like the contract was there for me to play in the NFL, but I'm like, I like to hunt.
Yeah, it's a good call.
I just didn't,
I would coach if they changed football to the spring.
Yeah.
So I can't.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would go back and play today if they would change football to the spring, but
exactly.
I just can't. So what was, so you didn't hunt growing up? Like,
a little bit. My dad drew an elk tag like south of the Green Canyon, and we went up there a couple times and poked around, or we'd target shoot or do this or do that, but I didn't have like the grandfather to teach you how to skin a deer and everything. So I was always envious of those guys that like grew up generationally that had some.
Was there anybody on your team at that time that was, a born and raised sportsman?
I would say Colt McCoy probably was the biggest guy. Brandon Sheriff was big Iowa boy. He hunted a lot. He almost shot me out of a tree with a shotgun, but
that's cool.
It's neither here nor there. So there were a couple hunters here and there, but you're so like engulfed in the football world that, but Colt has brought more people to the good side of hunting than a lot of guys. For sure. He's introduced hunting to a lot of our teammates. So it's cool to see guys like taking over like wildfire.
I bet he just retire last year?
Yeah, he did.
So now he's hunting 476 animals a year.
He just shot an elk in Utah with me.
Good for him, man. Good for him. I mean, he's a Longhorn, so I don't really care about him as a person, but
tough weekend coming up.
Yeah, I'm headed down to the Arkansas-Texas game, and I'm going with a Texas fan, so that's going to be fun. But I'm not too fired up about that.
We'll see. You never know.
Yeah, especially with Arkansas. But we are hot garbage, so we'll see. So literally, like walking out into the field was just like, I'm going to go and try and figure this out. Like.
Yeah, I was just going to try and figure it out. I just figured the further I walked, the better, and would see sign or do this or do that. I think I was coming out, limping out because I just had knee surgery, and there was a houndsman coon hunter coming in, and he's like, what the hell are you still doing out here? And I was like, I just like to sit out here a little long, not bust myself. And he's like, "Oh, you ever coon hunted?" I was like, "Nope." He's like, "Well, turn around, let's go." And he was cool. I mean, he was a wealth of knowledge and like, pointed out little things like the difference between red oak and white oak and stuff like that. I would have never even, like, I was like, I'm not looking at the trees.
Yeah.
So just kept my eyes and ears open, and I've met a ton of cool people, and just like a sponge, just soaking it up, and probably have learned a lot more the last few years. And
that's cool.
Guys get to learn in a lifetime. So it's been awesome.
So what did you like when you killed the first deer? Was it like, did you have some there to show you what to do, or did you just start like?
I just started
chopping.
It was a YouTube University,
chopping and pulling.
Yeah, YouTube University was good to me.
Like, Trent, why do you have a hatchet, bro? Like,
oh, it's so fun.
All you have is a samurai sword.
It was a traumatic experience for me and the deer. Let's just put it that way. It was bad, but it was good too. I ate that deer for like 6 days straight until I was sick of deer. And then I went and got Chipotle because that's all I used to eat. And then like felt sick from that. And I was like, dude, I thought Chipotle was the healthiest thing I could eat. And I was like, I guess this is my body telling me like what real unprocessed meat does for you and your inflammation and everything versus, glorified fast food. So it was definitely an eye opener for me and just got hooked.
That's cool, man. So what's next for you? Where are you headed? Hopefully to see your wife, like at least for a day.
Yeah, if she's listening, I'm going back to home. If she's not listening, I still have a Montana general elk and deer tag. Going back.
Wait, you just came from that direction.
I know. I was at a fork in the road in Wyoming, and I was like, do I go up and extend this? And I was like, I told her I was coming home Sunday. So I'm trying to find a little bit of balance, but there'll be a Texas deer trip here in probably December. Get back to Montana in December. I'm guiding elk in Arizona right after Thanksgiving. I still have a South Dakota archery deer tag. Going to New York to also guide on a charity whitetail hunt. I have an Ohio deer tag myself. I have Arizona archery over.
Guys, his
archery deer.
His wallet, I saw it earlier. It's this thick and it's just tags. His wallet's 8 inches thick and it's just tags.
It actually is pretty filled with tags right now. I just got a couple of tags back.
And that's all just tags right there.
This one, it's good. It's good when there's blood on it, though.
Yeah,
that's a good sign. Got a couple filled tags. Got my bison tag back.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like your wife will see you in March. So
when the babies do.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't get to do this as much next year.
That's why I'm
you're living the life right now.
Like I'm going just pedal to
when's the due date?
March 4th.
Okay, well at least it's not hunting season.
That's how we plan.
I learned the hard way, brother. I learned that and here's what sucked. I had oftentimes said, I was on record several times in my life saying that if I could pick one day to hunt, it would be November 7th. And I had said this on public record before.
Yeah.
And sure enough, Harper Jean, my middle sweet Harper, was born on November 7th.
Oh,
I was sitting in the hospital and I got like 4 pictures from my friends of giants. And I'm like, yep. Well, I just had a baby. So
that's rough. Yeah. March is really setting me up to be a good father.
Yeah. So I haven't been at Harper's birthday party in like 3 years.
Exactly.
Tucker was born on September 2nd. So been gone on elk hunts the last 2 years for his birthday. But good news is, like I'm telling my wife, I'm like, look at it in the grand scheme of things. He's going to be the only kid that gets going on an elk hunt for his birthday every year.
That's
like
true.
The kid's going to be on an elk hunt every year as soon as he's old enough during his birthday. And that's going to be dope.
Yeah.
So
good positive twist.
Yeah. So he's looking for it. And Tucker's all about it, dude. Yeah, Tucker lives and breathes it.
I met Tucker earlier. He grabbed all of my elk meat in the box.
Yeah.
To pull it out.
Oh yeah. Very he's just a little freak.
Very
like there's nothing normal about that kid. I got a picture of him last year, just and he was a lot littler and he's just holding this giant heart. And like I texted it to my wife and she's like, why is he? And I'm like, it's Tucker. And he's like, Dad, I'm taking this heart home, dude. We're not getting rid of this. And I'm like, all right, take it home to mama. And I'm like, why don't you just, so we get back home and he gets the heart out. I'm like, why don't you just run in there and show her, dude? And so he just busts through the door and he's like, Mom, look. I'm like, well, that's Tucker for you.
I do. Yeah, it's awesome. I do have mule deer liver in the truck too. That's going to make it back to the wife. It's going to be good for baby boy in there. I think I'm going to have to dress it up a little bit. But
you're just growing a tank.
Yeah.
He's just going to be a unit when he comes out.
Machine. He's already hammering.
Yeah. Kid's going to be juiced up when he's 7.
He's going to be a elk killing son of a bitch.
That'd be cool. That'd be real cool, man. Having a son's the greatest thing that could ever happen to you. I mean, I literally like, it just makes everything better. I mean, that deer there, it's the only one in this office. It's the only one I keep out in my studio, and it's just because my son was with me.
Yeah,
like,
it's awesome. I can't wait.
I came home, I guess it was 2 nights ago. And, I was showing Tucker a little video of this little 110-inch deer, and he's 15 yards from me. And Tucker's like, why don't you shoot him? I'm like, well, he's little, Tucker. And he's like, he's still got meat on his body. That's what he said. I'm like,
can't eat the horns.
I'm like, well, you're right, son. I said, but the bigger deer have more meat.
Yeah, there you go.
And he's like, yeah, you're right, Dad.
That's awesome.
No, he's cool, man. Well, very cool. Well, Trent, man, I can't tell you thank you enough for coming on, and ready to shoot some bows tomorrow.
Absolutely. I'm pumped. I appreciate you.
I'm ready to go kill some stuff in Texas. Is it a deer hunt or a nilgai hunt?
They're both open. The December hunt is more geared towards deer because it's the rut. And then the February trip is definitely more geared towards nilgai. Sometimes the whitetail is closed by the time we get there anyway, but there's nilgai both. So it's kind of whatever makes
the Texas rut is a blast.
I've never been during this time. It's always been late.
Oh.
It's always been late. I'm like, man,
I love hunting the Texas rut. It's so fun.
Yeah, I can't wait.
One time I found it was a bad outfitter. We're just gonna say that. The reason I wanted to go was a do-it-yourself hunt. It was just like, hey, here's my ground. Go out and have fun. But we get there, and I had a lot of higher ups from a company that I was working with, a company in the hunting industry that I was working with, and I had a lot of higher ups with me, and I'd found this place and pretty cabins, looked nice, looked cool, but we wanted that do-it-yourself culture.
Yeah.
Just,
yeah, for sure.
We wanted to cook our own food and have our own fires and just do us. So it looked perfect, but we get there, and he's like, "Where are your boys at?" The guys asked me this, and I'm like, "Oh, they're outside." I figured I'd come in and just like check it. He's like, they all need to be in here for a meeting. And I'm like, okay. So I bring him on. Dude opens a binder. So here's the rules, boys. And he proceeds to spew out of his mouth for 5 minutes.
Mm.
If it's a 180, it's got to have 9 points. If it doesn't have that 10th point, then it's got to be at least a 4 on one side and a 6 on the other. And if it's 3.5 years old, but it doesn't have 12 points, then and all of these were tied to different fines. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I will say as like a
slow down.
public land DIY hunter, that's the most challenging part of Texas is like the Texas aging deer class deal.
And dude, I straight up looked this guy in the face and I'm like, okay, here's my problem, buddy. We're all from Kansas.
Yeah.
Well, no, sorry. 2 or 3 of us from Kansas, somewhere, all Midwest.
Yeah.
We're all from the Midwest, where deer weigh 150 pounds more than these deer.
200-pound farm deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the buck I shot last year, that buck right there weighed 250 pounds on the hoof.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these deer are 170. Maybe for a big antler deer. And I'm like, how are we supposed to, anyways, so we're sitting in the blind. Like we all just took pictures of every page of this. Cause we're like trying to, it wasn't just a couple rules, you know, it wasn't like, hey, and here's what I prefer. I don't mind you asking me to shoot mature animals, but just say that.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, let's try to shoot older, more mature deer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you shoot 1.5 years old, fork and horn, I'm going to fine you.
Yeah.
Like, okay, gotcha. Try to shoot more mature deer. But this was a list of rule. Like you felt like
it's stressful.
And this was like crazy time during the rut. So it's not like, all right, I'm gonna get to watch him for an hour and, decide. And so I'm sitting here with one of the CEOs of this company in a blind, and I'm like, I'm going to call for you, and we're going to get a deer in here. And we get this nice buck in. He's probably 140 inch deer. Mm. And we're looking, I'm like literally flipping through his mind. I'm like, I'm literally looking, and I'm like, well, he's only got 9 points. So let's go to the 9-point page. Okay. He has to be 135. I think we got that. Okay. But he has to at least be 4 on one side. I'm like, no, I wouldn't shoot him, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's fine. He's like, that's a nice deer, dude. And I'm like, that's up to you, but I think you're going to get fined.
Yeah. And
so we get back, and nowhere in the country would I have passed this deer. Mm-hmm. And we get back, and I'm just going to ask because I took a lot of it. I mean, it was there for a while, and I'm like, what about this deer? He's like, yeah, 9 point. Yeah. I mean, I think he breaks the 135, but I don't think he's 4.5. Yeah, it'd have been a $1,200 fine. And I'm like, okay, well, aging deer is pretty, even if we have it on the ground, pretty up for debate there, friend, unless you bring in a biologist.
Check the teeth.
So I'll say he's 4.5. I don't care what you say. Like, you'll say anybody, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I felt so bad for this kid. He was another kid in camp, and shoots the picture perfect deer that you would want off of your property. Mm-hmm. 12 points. And the tines, each one were like this long. Yeah. Old deer, like not worth anything, dude. 6.5 plus. But he was a 12 point, and he wasn't 140 inches. So this kid was like, and I mean 16, 17-year-old kid. And this guy's standing there saying, well, that's a $1,200 fine. He's 12 point. It's not 140. I'm like, dude, you want that deer off your property. Yeah, like that is the picture perfect deer of one that you would want killed. Mm-hmm. So we left.
Yeah, it's brutal. That's the most frustrating part of Texas for sure. I mean, not being able to shoot deer under 5.5. It's like, what? How do you tell?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Especially when they seem to all, like Texas deer. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I haven't spent enough time there, but Texas deer, the body size seems to be the same no matter what. Yeah. Like, you don't ever see much of a range there.
No, I mean, dark back hawks, stomach sag, but like some of these deer will walk by older, more dominant deer and fur out their hair, so then their hide looks all screwed up. You're like, oh, that's an old deer, but it's just a young deer all furred out.
Yeah,
it's especially if you're bowing it. It's not like you have that much time to make it
right.
But say if it makes you happy and you're going to put it on the wall. Green light, but I don't know.
Well, I'm ready to come, and I'm going to shoot anything I see.
If it makes you happy and you'll put it on the wall, shoot it.
Well, I wouldn't say that to me.
I'm saying it.
I don't shoot. I don't pass many deer. Like, I'm a trigger man, dude.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long for people to say, yeah, I'd shoot.
I'm with you. 100%.
Yeah. But that's what's fun about it.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't like to look at deer. I like to kill deer.
Same.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. The podcast is now. You can listen on anywhere you get your podcast. We're also on Carbon TV, and just actually additionally added Wild TV. So if you're in Canada, you can now watch the video and listen on Wild TV. Guys, in this transition period, I know I've told you this before, but in this transition period, I am still hosting the Bear Archery podcast. But as of January 1, I will strictly be here on Typical Sportsman. So make sure and subscribe to the Typical Sportsman podcast anywhere you get your podcast. You can go and check everything out at typicalsportsman.com. You can reach out to me through the website. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to share in your success this fall. We are officially now, when you're listening to this, we're in my favorite time to kill a big mature whitetail. And that's bitter cold December with a whole bunch of snow on the ground. Everybody loves hunting the rut. And I love hunting the rut just as much as the next guy. But if I want to kill one particular buck and nail him down, I'm going to do it right now when it's 10 degrees and dumping snow and they're hitting food consistently. So get out there and hunt. And if you're successful, I would love to share in that success. So reach out to me through the website. Let me see all those pictures. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Y'all have a fantastic week.